I need to tell you about 5-Star Bath Solutions of Minneapolis. My wife and I needed a bathroom remodel done badly. Our bathroom was disgusting. But here's the deal. We didn't want to wait 6 weeks. We didn't all want to stuff into our downstairs bathroom where we had to pile up and pile in. We didn't want to have to stop using an area of our house that we literally use every day for 6 weeks. So then we found 5-Star Bath Solutions of Minneapolis. And they remodeled our full bathroom in 48 hours. And it is updated. It is modern. Take a look for yourself if you're watching on YouTube. Our bathroom prior, ugly floors, nasty color, moldy shower, slippery tub, one sink, disgusting looking vanity. And voila, 48 hours later, new floor, new bathtub, new shower surround, a double sink, and a new vanity. Sure, it was an investment, but when you put something into your kitchen or your bathroom, you get that money back. And we got our bathroom back in 48 hours. 5-Star Bath Solutions of Minneapolis will get the job done right, and will get the job done fast. There's really no other better option. 5-Star Bath Solutions of Minneapolis. Check them out today. Get a free consultation and be a happy customer like my wife and I are today. We love it. Minnesota sports is hitting their stride, and there is only one person that I can talk about this with. It is Jake's Takes. We need Jake's take on takes and takes and takes on Minnesota takes and takes. So, Jake, Timberwolves in back-to-back Western Conference Finals. The Minnesota Vikings schedule comes out. The Minnesota Lynx win game 1. The Minnesota Twins are on an 11-game win streak.
12, I think. No, I think they won
12?
Yeah.
Wow. Where do you want to start? You want to start with Rudy Gobert dumping his pregnant girlfriend and trying to figure out that battle?
We can maybe leave that for the. He said out of respect for his difficult times, if people wouldn't mind speculating. So I don't know about you, but I think we are trying to be respected.
Yes.
Podcasters who don't want to gossip.
Let's not dive into the privacy of Gobert's private life.
We don't need to dive into that. Although it seems like he might have taken a page out of Ant's book on that one. No, I was getting advice from the wrong place. I thought you were going to go Wolves and Vikings schedule, and I was going to say, whoa, the Twins. But, I did laugh. They tweeted out the only 12-pack we want to take back from Wisconsin, and because they put the Brewers last night, and it was 12 wins. I'm like, that's pretty clever. But yeah. I think the Wolves are probably the most pressing, event in Minnesota. Although we played, it was Paige Beckers. Paige Beckers,
right? Yeah, we did. Yeah. We played her last night, defeated the Dallas Stars basketball team.
I think Wings, right?
Yeah. I had no idea what they were called, but that dude, he said, I'm like, oh, yeah, they're the Dallas Wings, aren't they?
Yeah.
So the Timberwolves, back-to-back Western Conference Finals appearances. Nobody would have expected this when they blew 30-point leads to the Bucks, lost to the Indiana Pacers bench, couldn't figure it out throughout the entire season. And all of a sudden, the final 2 weeks, they start playing basketball as a team and start figuring things out. Julius Randle starts playing the best basketball of his career. Anthony Edwards has played spectacular for the most part with a few games that have been duds, but he's really controlled the tempo and the pace of the game by distributing to teams. His decision-making has been overall better. Your thoughts on the Timberwolves advancing, your just overall perspective on all things Wolves.
Yeah, I mean, Randall has taken the world by storm, right? I mean, that's kind of the first thing. Ant's kind of doing what you would expect to some degree, right? 27, 8, 6. Like, that's right what you need him to be at. It's high expectations, but he's hitting them. Randall's been the question mark, right? It's his playoff history is pretty sketchy. Just his overall his attitude and effort on previous teams, right? The Knicks were like burning his jersey on the way out. Like he's kind of left a burning, scorched earth from where he's been in the past because of all the different issues. And he has been incredible. He made Draymond Green, who was a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, look like he was standing in cement. He couldn't guard him on the perimeter. He was getting bully balled by Randle. Like there was nothing. He does the same move 80% of the time, but he drives left, spins back, and then does that little like leaner step fade, and it's from like 8-10 feet, and it's cash like every time. I was trying to find. I saw a stat, and I couldn't find the full stat of it. But something like there has been 4 or 5 players that have averaged 25 and 5 while shooting 50% or higher. And it was like LeBron. It was like, I don't remember who the other ones were. It was like
all elite players, superstar players.
And the last one was Julius Randle. And it was just like, obviously it's 10 games, it's whatever. You could say the opponents, neither of them have been super formidable. But if he plays like this, that is the Wolves having a chance at a championship, right? If he has a big drop-off next series, they might, with some luck and whatever, Ant goes off. I mean, there's other ways the Wolves could win, but the clearest path to winning the next series, which I think will be the hardest series of the whole run here, it really relies on, if Julius Randle keeps this up, I mean, they are the best team in the league. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
I would say that Julius Randle is also built for playoff basketball, despite his struggles in the past. And the reason for that is because you look at the way he plays basketball, the physicality that he plays with, and when he plays with that type of physicality in the playoffs, they're not calling those offensive fouls or charges. They're letting him play to a degree that you never see during the regular season. So when you see Randle, who's one of the biggest stout guys that you'll see in a basketball court, despite not being the tallest, and he lowers his shoulder, 90% of the offensive plays that he's been showing off in the playoffs are charges during the regular season. So the fact that he can take his physicality into the playoffs and the officials are letting him play has been a huge part of why he's been so successful, in my opinion.
Well, and the difference between last year and this year, right, in terms of you look at what Towns gives you and what Randle gives you, right? The first response answer is, well, Towns can spread the floor, he hits threes. Like, that's more valuable to us as a team. No. I mean, again, it's valuable. I mean, obviously the Knicks, granted, Towns had an awful series against the Celtics in terms of three-point shooting, but generally speaking, he's a great three-point shooter, right? The Wolves have plenty of that. Now, Dante's kind of stunk, right? But generally he's shooting well. Conley's shooting good. Jaden, McDaniels, Randle, all shooting above 30, almost 35%, right? We have enough three-point shooting. What we didn't have last year was when they would double Ant or chase Ant, right? We'd swing the ball to Towns, and they might help or whatever, and then there's no counter options to break down the defense, right? You had a bunch of three-point shooters, Gobert, who's going to just stand on the block and hope for a rebound or hope somebody grabs his arm as he's trying to rebound. And that was kind of the possession. Now, when that breaks down, Ant's doubled or tripled, right? You swing it to Randle, and he's making the defenses just absolutely pay. And that's the difference between this year and last year is you have two options that can, 10 seconds left on the shot clock, you give them the ball, and there's a good chance that there's at least a good shot that's going to happen, at a decent percentage, right? I mean, again, both Ant and Randle are shooting plenty good enough. Ant's 45%, 39% from three. Randle's 51%, 35% from three. I mean, both end of shot clock, end of game, right? Fourth quarter situations are able to just get good shots consistently. And that's, playoff basketball. It's at the end of the day, that's kind of what it comes down to.
And you see the physicality and really the 3-point shooting has gone down in the playoffs. You've seen teams score, like the last night, the Celtics scored 81 points against the Knicks. You saw against the series with the Warriors, a ton of those games were below 100 points. And I would say that I know statistically you look at Edwards, 39% from three, Julius Randle can knock down threes, Dante, Mike Conley. So the statistics are not going to back up my opinion on this because I think overall the Timberwolves were like top 5 in NBA 3-point shooting throughout the season. A large part of that from Anthony Edwards, who led the league in 3-point shooting.
Yep.
But I do think the Timberwolves have a problem with their inconsistent three-point shooting.
Correct.
Meaning, when I look at the Timberwolves roster, I do not see a roster full of knockdown three-point shooters. I see a roster that, okay, this game they're going to shoot like 56% from three, but then in game 2, they're going to shoot like 25%. I don't see a lot of consistent like 40 to 50% games where they're like, okay, I can rely on you for the entire ball game. Either they're just like super red hot, or Edwards is like 9 for 11 from the 3-point line, or they're like Edwards is like 1 for 12 from the 3-point line.
Yep, you're not wrong. Because like, I mean, even there's how many times have we been watching? You see like Ant's like 3 for 10 or 3 for 12, and you're like, man. I mean, there's been plenty of those games. You know, like you said, as a team, we're pretty streaky. So you're right. It's not like we're this knockdown, like, you know, especially like, because again, Dante's a perfect example where his percentage isn't great either. It's only 25 at the moment. But, you know, that's somebody who's supposed to be that guy, right? He's supposed to be our most consistent, accurate, you know, the looks he's getting usually are going to be pretty open, you know, compared to like Ant or, you know, whatever. Like he gets pretty open mostly shots, right? And he's not hitting them right now either. So, that's I was going to bring it up. Like, I don't know, should we be concerned or excited? Here you go. Here's a segment for you. Should we be concerned or excited that the Timberwolves have not played like their best consistent basketball yet?
It's a good question. I'm going to be concerned that they have not played their best basketball yet, but also excited that they have made it to the Western Conference Finals, and I'm not going to apologize. And Draymond Green, as much as people hate on him, myself included, following the Warriors series, he really had some good things to say about like, oh, we didn't have Steph, but like, hey, we won NBA Finals when other teams got injured, so like, they beat us. Like, that's straight up. They just beat us. The Timberwolves, one of the biggest things that need to change, specifically coming from Anthony Edwards. I think during this Warriors series, and Chris Finch made mention of it during post-game and like timeout interviews and stuff like that. He said something along the lines of like, Edwards is feeling out the game in the first half and then really exploding in the second half, attacking the rim, scoring points, and really making his mark on the game. I don't think that Wolves, specifically Anthony Edwards, can do that in the Western Conference Finals.
No.
I think first quarter, Edwards needs to make a statement and put the Timberwolves in a position, because we're not playing the Warriors without Steph anymore. We're not playing an old and slow Lakers team anymore. I mean, if the Nuggets win versus the Thunder, that's a huge break for the Timberwolves.
I agree.
Especially because Aaron Gordon is doubtful with a hamstring strain. And if Gordon is not available in the Western Conference Finals, that's a huge advantage, Minnesota Timberwolves. And Thunder are younger, more athletic, have a little bit more rim protection. But something that I think needs to be adjusted majorly is Anthony Edwards' approach in the first half compared to the second half. Because if he has the same approach in the first half in the Western Conference Finals, the Timberwolves are going to be down by 15. And they're going to be playing catch-up the entire game.
Yep. Yeah, no, you're right. I think I agree with your sentiment in terms of I'm more concerned. It doesn't mean I'm not excited. You know, we have to keep in mind the perspective. You know, even just 4 or 5 years ago, for like 15 straight years, what was our biggest event of this year as a Timberwolves fan?
Right.
The draft lottery, right?
Yeah.
You know, and how many years now have we passed that night where it's like, oh, I didn't know the draft lottery was tonight, where that was like appointment television for us from like 2005 to like 2020 almost. So, you know, the perspective of being so appreciative and exciting and watching all the games, you know, Western Conference Finals back-to-back years, first Minnesota franchise since 1981, I think I saw, the North Stars. You know, all that is great. But yeah, I'm more concerned that it's going to be too late to when they kind of figured out when you're playing something like the Nuggets or the Thunder. Because again, it doesn't matter who you beat. You got to beat who's on the schedule, and you got to beat the right. But to your point, Lakers, where Fat Luka, old LeBron, who's trying, and Austin Reeves, who just got swallowed up by our defense. Like, that's not a formidable opponent in terms of like big picture, right? again, Warriors without Steph, we know that's just, without Steph all season, they're a lottery team. So it's just, you don't have to apologize for beating those teams 4-1. But again, it has not really tuned them up, and they have not looked, game one, aside from the Lakers series or whatever that was, where they hit like 53s, but that's just kind of like you said, hot shooting night. They haven't really put a full game together, and especially the Thunder and even the Nuggets too. When you're playing the best player in the world, you can't get away with taking quarters off, taking stretches off, not and just having those lulls against teams that are equal or better than the Wolves.
And you see that a lot from the Timberwolves too. You see a lot of stretches where they're just like, how is this team winning all these games? You just see like a 6-minute stretch where they'll go without a field goal. And it's like, what happened here?
Yeah. And it's not, I mean, they have enough talent. It's not to say that they can't, right? I mean, you have Ant, you have Randle, you have, Nas and shooting and McDaniels and Gobert and blah, 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 the list goes on. Could they play inconsistently and squeak their way to the finals and squeak out a championship? It's certainly possible. But obviously, again, if you're going to do it, I don't know if confidently is the right way to say it, but right, if it's going to be more convincing, they got to start playing more consistently. And you can't bank on, hey, we need to outscore the Nuggets by 20 points in the last 15 minutes, that kind of thing. You can't really bank on that.
Right. And the window this season is more open than ever. I mean, if you get to the finals and you said, oh, you could play the Knicks or the Pacers to win the whole darn thing, I think anybody in the Western Conference would take that. And the Timberwolves have a chance to face off against the Knicks. Everyone's going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Oh, Timberwolves Knicks, the trade. Oh,
yeah.
What happens? Who won the trade? Who didn't?
Yeah.
So this is the year to do it because it's as open as ever. If you don't have to face Boston, and I was never really afraid of the Cavaliers because come playoff time, it's just a different kind of basketball.
Yeah.
But another big thing to take into this next series, last year, and this really means that Edwards and the Wolves players are completely without excuse. Last year, you're coming off a 7-game emotional stand with the Nuggets, where you had to pour your heart and soul into the series. Edwards was gassed for Dallas, wasn't quite himself, didn't have the energy or burst that you typically see. And it just kind of fed across the entire Wolves locker room. Cat was terrible against Dallas. Now they got the rest. They beat Warriors in 5. Thunder and Nuggets are going the distance. The series will start, I think, on Monday or Tuesday.
Tuesday, because I think they play Game 7 tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah. Game 7's tomorrow on Sunday.
So I think it's Tuesday.
And then Game 1 will be on Tuesday. So, the team that they're facing will be on short rest off an emotional 7-game series. The Wolves have to go on the road. But regardless, they should be the more prepared and more energized team entering the Western Conference Finals, which they did not have a year ago.
Yep. Yeah, I generally, most of the time, I am not they always say that, especially
rest versus rust.
Rest versus rust.
Stan Van Gundy's a big rust guy.
Yeah.
You know what he's saying versus the Warriors? Oh, they're just rusty. 5 days off. They just couldn't handle they're just so used to playing every other day. They just could not get used to that schedule in Game 1. I'm like, this is stupid.
That is I think rust is the dumbest excuse for bad play.
Fine. 2 minutes of rust, fine. I'll give it to you. 2 minutes in the first quarter, getting your feet wet, kind of figuring it out.
Yeah. There's no situation where you'd rather play Sunday Game 7 and then Tuesday Game 1 than Wednesday Game 5, Tuesday Game 1. Because it's not like they make it sound like, well, the first time they picked up a basketball.
Totally.
Tuesday morning.
They picked this guy up off the street, like an NFL player. Oh, they took this guy off the street.
It's not like the Wolves have spent Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday not preparing for either
playing
team,
Xbox and video games. Yeah.
They went to McDonald's 3 times a day playing Xbox. Again, you're right. The jitters of thinking about it for 4 or 5 days. Maybe they come out a little nervous. They would anyway, right? It's the Western Conference Finals. But yeah, I always just think the rust thing is just a lame excuse people say when the team starts off bad. But then when they start out great, it's like you don't bring it up. It's like, well, I don't know. It's just a dumb. I just always think that's so dumb when it's used as like legit, like, oh, it was Russ was the reason they lost to Golden State in the first game. No, they just sucked. They just played bad. It just happens sometimes.
I have I just had a thought come to me. Then you say, uh-oh. Let's say, uh-oh.
Oh, uh-oh.
So this thought came to me. Will Jake take the bait? I was thinking about the first two series and how those went. And the first two series, the Timberwolves were like historically clutch. Like clutcher than they've been all year. And I think John Krasinski posted something like, their net rating in clutch time in the playoffs has been like 82 versus the regular season. It was like 25. So
sure.
They're talking about just like completely shifting. And here's where I think the question comes. First two series, you're largely playing older, slower teams that were gassed in the fourth quarter. Let's say the Thunder beat the Nuggets and you're facing a younger team in the fourth quarter. The Timberwolves, here's the statement. Will Jake take the bait? The Timberwolves' clutch performances in the first two series were largely because the old Warriors and the old Lakers ran out of gas and did not have the young legs. And that is a big concern against the Thunder because they have the young legs to stick with the Timberwolves late in the game. Will Jake take the bait?
Yeah, well, I don't know if that's like the sole reason, but it definitely, right, the defensive intensity from the Warriors and the Warriors just didn't have a lot of talent by the end of the, they just, they couldn't muster up enough. Defensively, they had some good guys, but whatever. And the Lakers, like you said, they're old and Reeves is bad, Luke is bad. Like they just had a lot of weak defensive players that were always kind of in the mix. And even LeBron is good, but like it depends who he's guarding and what you're asking him to do. He still made some phenomenal plays, obviously, but it's just hard, right? 40, 41 years old. Yeah, I've seen it online, like, do you want to play the Thunder? They're inexperienced, blah, 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 blah. There is no question in my mind that the Wolves would have a better time against the Denver Nuggets. Does that mean that they would beat the Nuggets? Not necessarily. The Nuggets are still capable of winning, obviously. But I would be much more nervous against the Thunder, kind of for that reason. The amount of guys they can pull. I mean, Denver has sort of 5.5 players that they can play. You have Michael Porter with some sort of shoulder injury that's like kind of serious, it sounds like, that he's playing through. Russell Westbrook is like their key chess piece that,
he's inconsistent.
Yeah, he's super inconsistent. Christian Brown is like their third best player now. Like, I don't know. It's no question you'd rather play Denver. If you were playing, can you be clutch against Denver and down the stretch? Absolutely, you can go at Christian Brown and you can go at Jamal Murray. He doesn't hardly guard anybody. Like, Jokic is a good rim protector, but like not amazing. Like, you can go at him. He's fine. He's a big dude. Compared to the Thunder with Jalen Williams and Chet and Shea's a phenomenal defender. I can just think about Ant.
Dort,
right? Think about the amount of bodies they could throw at Ant. I mean, they have Dort. Shea, if he really wants to, can go at him. I mean, they got bodies. Caruso is super pesky. Is Conley going to get any looks against Caruso's guarding him? There's not a chance. So, to your point, if we play the Thunder, our clutch numbers, you can't rely on just being super efficient down the stretch because the Thunder are going to have answers for what we do. Well, the Nuggets, less so, I think. It's possible, sure, but it's going to be a lot more difficult for them to kind of bottle up the Wolves.
So, your prediction for the Western Conference Finals. Will the Timberwolves advance to the NBA Finals for the first time in their history? Last year, and I'm so glad this monkey is off my back, while you prepare your take, I predicted the Phoenix Suns to beat the Wolves, and the Wolves swept them in 4. I predicted the Nuggets to beat the Wolves. Wolves won in 7. I predicted the Wolves to beat the Mavericks. And the Wolves lost in 5. But this past series, I predicted the Wolves to beat the Warriors in 6. And they did. So, I think the proverbial monkey is off my back in terms of like them doing the opposite of what I say.
Yep.
I will do the opposite. So your opinion on the WCF?
Well, I'd say that,
and it's hard because we don't know who we're playing.
There's kind of the two scenarios. I think if the Nuggets pull it out somehow tomorrow, it wouldn't be a sweep, right? I know we beat the Nuggets like 6 straight games, and I was like, oh, they got the Nuggets number. It's like, again, slow your roll. You're playing Nikola Jokic. Like, it's not going to just be like that. But do I think in a 7-game series they'd still beat the Nuggets? I do. Okay, so I'd say yes if the Nuggets manage to pull it out. If the Thunder pull it out, that just scares me to death. The way that they play, and do they have an answer for Randle? I don't know, maybe. But again, the way that they could guard Ant is what would terrify me. I know he split 2-2 in the regular season, but who knows? Again, regular season.
One of those games was Ant didn't play the entire fourth quarter, and the Timberwolves were down like 25 points.
Right.
And the bench brought him back.
Yeah. So, like, regular season stats I don't say hardly matter, but now more than ever, it's like who played, didn't matter, were they coming off a back-to-back, like, whatever.
Right.
I would lean that the Thunder would be able to, take down the Wolves, unfortunately. But it's a toss-up. It truly would be a toss-up. I mean, at the end of the day, if you looked at like Vegas, right, Oklahoma City would be a slight favorite, home court advantage. Shea is tough, and they have some shooting.
Although, I will say this: a lot of the stuff that he gets during the regular season isn't called in the playoffs.
He's slowed down.
He's got a little James Harden-esque to him, where like, yes, he is one of the best players in the league. A lot of it comes from the free throw line.
Yep.
Same thing with James Harden. That's been his rap for his entire career.
Yep.
Stellar regular season player. And this is a little different because Shea's a better playoff player. But the large point still stands.
Yeah.
He loves to knock down free throws. And they don't call as much in the playoffs.
And I should say, too, and I've mentioned a couple times how the Thunder would have answers for Ant. We also do have some answers for Shea. I mean, we have guys that can lock him up term, because he can score a lot still anyway. But that can slow him down is a better way to put it. McDaniels is like the best defender in the entire world. Like he's built to handle somebody like Shea, with his length and his quickness and, his demeanor, we'll say, his happy demeanor. So
his emotional demeanor.
Yeah, his emotional demeanor. So
do you think he really needs to cut back the emotion a little bit?
He probably needs to settle down a little bit, yeah. He smirked once, and it was kind of like, whoa, take it easy, man.
He punched a wall a few years ago.
That's true. Like, yeah, that's true. Maybe he learned his lesson since then. He's just mellow now. He's chill.
Mellow man.
Yeah. I don't know. What about you?
I think the Timberwolves sweep either team regardless. 1 through 4. No. No. I'd lean a little bit. I hate agreeing with you because that just makes it a little bit boring. But I agree with you.
All right. But it's not got a controversial take. It is what it is.
I'm trying to put on my Skip Bayless hat and the Timberwolves are winning in 4 games and Anthony Edwards is becoming the face of the league. No, I think the Thunder would beat the Wolves. And I think the Wolves could have a chance against the Nuggets. I think the Thunder beat the Wolves in 6. And the Timberwolves would probably go to 7 with Denver. So that's the way I would go with it.
Yeah.
But
it does, yeah. It's especially if Gordon's thing is going to be lingering too. I mean, that changes their entire. Then they're
cooked.
They're cooked.
But just taking a look at the Minnesota Vikings schedule because that came out, and then we'll wrap up the podcast on this today. The schedule came out. Our fine folks love the back-to-back international ball games versus Steelers in Ireland, Dublin, and then in London to take on the Cleveland Browns. My first impressions of this schedule is that, hey, it sets up perfectly for what the Vikings are trying to do in year 1 of McCarthy. Easy schedule to start at Chicago. I mean, they're a tougher opponent, but I don't really fear them yet.
Yeah.
Home versus Atlanta, home versus Cincinnati, and then Pittsburgh and Cleveland. And then you got the bye week, and then you got the meat of the schedule. But the biggest meat of the schedule versus Philadelphia and versus Baltimore, both of those are home games.
Yep.
Which give the Vikings a greater chance to win those games. And then even home versus Washington gives the Vikings a greater chance to win those games. So the toughest opponents outside of the division for the Vikings are all home games, which is valuable. And then you got Dallas, New York. I think the schedule sets up really favorably for the Vikings in year one of McCarthy.
Yeah, I looked at a first glance through, I would say, like my first reaction, ooh, that's kind of a tough schedule. But yeah, when you break it down, so you play the, what was that, AFC North, Pittsburgh. They don't even have a quarterback at the moment. They will get one, I hope. Cleveland, they're kind of a train wreck. Who knows what's going on there?
Who's their quarterback?
Yeah, who knows who their quarterback, Shadur or Dylan Gabriel or Flacco or whoever the heck else they signed.
Kenny Pickett.
Like, it's just a mess. Obviously, then you have Baltimore is obviously top tier. Like, that's tough. Like you said, it's home. Eagles again home. And then you play the NFC South, right? You have Dallas, New York, bad. Washington, good, but you could argue that they're not going to be. I mean, the odds that they repeat what they just did is tough. I mean, Atlanta's not. It's not. Cincinnati's tough too, but again, another home game. So you could argue the three best teams that we play, four best really, are all home. It is. Yeah, it's. I mean, if you don't start 4-1, let's say,
right, then you're in big trouble.
Yeah, I mean, that's because it's a tough stretch to go Philly, Chargers, who should be, they're tough, and it's a
short week though. To have the physicality against
LA.
Philadelphia, and then you got to go on the road against the Chargers on a Thursday night. That's tough.
And then
but then you have the extra break to go at Detroit, so that's an advantage.
Right. So I mean, then you have those four in a row. Those are probably the four toughest, just kind of for back to back to back to back. At Seattle for what seems like the 38th time in the last. I know it's the Darnold revenge game. Is that? I didn't even look. Is that one? That's just a regular 305. I thought maybe that would be like a fun one. It's always you always wonder how they decide what games. I mean, obviously they try to find good games and whatever, but like, why is the Vikings versus the Falcons a Sunday night football?
Right.
Who cares about watching that one? But anyway,
they're gonna assume that Michael Penix Jr. is gonna get injured and Kirk Cousins is gonna be starting.
Yeah, maybe. I already went through that whole thing though. So my question for you is going to be. Would you offer J.J. McCarthy for Caleb Williams? Because apparently he wanted to come here.
Yeah, talking to lawyers, talking to his dad about joining the United Football League.
Yeah.
And what's so interesting about this is like Ben Johnson was already hired, and he's got the offensive guru mind that everyone wanted, and he didn't want. Well, that's not true, I guess. Because this was before he was drafted.
Right.
And Matt Eberflus, I got that all messed up. I went on a whole ordeal yesterday about how Ben Johnson was hired and he still didn't want. He had his first year to Matt Eberflus. What was I thinking? What an idiot.
Maybe save that one from off the socials, because otherwise you'll.
I think, yesterday I did it. And yesterday I did this.
I know. I'm saying maybe make sure those don't end up on socials. That's all.
No, they already are.
Oh. Who?
The socials were posted yesterday, but I'm not seeing any really poor feedback yet. So.
It is kind of weird. I didn't really see why. Why did this come out now? I did not see that. Is it part of like a bigger article or like a book or something?
Yeah, some book by Seth Wickersham or something.
Oh.
Senior ESPN writer.
Well,
some book.
I did just trade him in my Dynasty Fantasy. I had Caleb Williams, and I traded him in my Dynasty Fantasy League. So
who did you get?
I'm not a believer. I got Jaden Daniels.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Upgraded.
Who would give you Jaden Daniels for Caleb Williams?
A Bears fan, but I also had to add a couple first. So it was an expensive trade on my part. I gave up some equity, but I just don't. Caleb, just something about. I just don't trust it.
Yeah, I agree.
I think he'll be okay. Like he'll be better than he was last year, but I don't know that I see, top ender. And I've never been wrong. I mean, I said, why should we draft Adrian Peterson? We have Chester Taylor. I said Anthony Davis is probably going to be a bust. Doesn't need to be the first overall pick.
Speaking of terrible opinions, oh man, I'm so glad you brought this up. Yesterday, Boston versus the Knicks, and I'm like, I think Boston is still going to win this series. Even with Jason Tatum hurt, I still like the Celtics. I like their depth. I like the veterans. I like Jaylen Brown to step up his game. I like the guard that they have that knocks down all these shots. Porzingis, they got Pritchard, 6th man of the year. I'm like, I still think Boston's going to win the series. I turned the game on. 119-81 late in the fourth quarter. Knickerbockers. Yep. And Jaylen Brown had some interesting comments following the game. Did you see those?
I did not actually know.
And it says this: finishing in May feels weird. It's definitely not something we were prepared for, said Celtics star Jaylen Brown. Things didn't go our way this year, and it's unfortunate, but we hold our heads up regardless. Losing to the Knicks feels like death, but I was always taught that there's life after death. So we'll get ready for whatever's next in the journey.
Interesting. Deep.
Yeah. Interesting comments following the game.
They got a lot of money stuff to figure out because Porzingis and Holiday, they have to make some choices and get rid of some guys if they can.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a question.
Right.
I'll maybe end with this because we're wrapping up here.
Yep.
So if you're Julius Randle, okay, you get the player option for like $30 million, roughly. I don't remember exactly, but around 30.
Do you test the market or do you?
Well, I was just gonna say. So, 3 months ago it was like, let's trade him. He's for sure. Wow, people were just all fired up. And
he's gonna sign this player option because he's not gonna get a bigger deal anywhere else.
Correct.
No.
Now, if you're Randall, do you opt in for that 1 year, and you finish your contract at 31? And what kind
That's
of
the
contract
problem.
Can you get at 31? Or, it's only 1 year, I know, but do you test the market? And, the teams that have cap, unfortunately for him, are all the bad teams. Because the luxury tax thing has absolutely blown up the way that the top-end teams compete. It's made it very difficult. There's lots of teams that are trying to shed money. Which is, if that's what the league wants, it's fine. It does create more parity and creates interesting off-seasons and whatnot, so whatever. But, do the Wolves, what is he looking at? Like, what would Brooklyn pay him? What, like, Detroit, I think, has some money. Like, there's some teams out there. Detroit's obviously decent. They made the playoffs. But,
and they could think, well, Julius Randle, we're one piece away from taking the next step.
Right. Like, does he get 3 or 4 years for 40-some million a year? Like, is that what – I don't know what the Julius Randle market is. Or does he – hey, I want to keep playing with the Wolves, with Ant, and I'm going to, it'll be interesting, I guess, for lack of a better word. I don't really know if I'm him. It depends how much he values winning too, right? Could he do a 2-year extension with us and spread out the money a little bit, or 3 years or whatever?
Right.
And stay on a winning team?
Probably the best scenario for him in his mind. If I could sign a contract extension with the Wolves and extend this 2 years.
Right.
But also, the last thing in his mind is probably sticking with that player option. Because the last thing he wants to do is keep that 1 year and then have to figure out and negotiate a contract that he wants at 31.
Right.
This is the summer for him to strike gold.
Right.
With the Wolves or with someone else.
Right. This is kind of probably his last chance to get the biggest. It'll be the biggest contract he's had, the last one.
Right. It's like Sam Darnold a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like this is the last chance that he has to make a huge dollar amount, especially because of the way he's played in the playoffs, as you've mentioned. And when you're 31, you're not signing a 3-year deal. But
well,
when you're
34 or 35, you're not doing, you're going year to year at that point,
Right. And when you're 30, it's like, well, we could sign 3 years and then 33, and then you're just kind of a bench player everywhere else until you finish off your career.
Right.
So it really depends on what the Timberwolves want to do, but that's what Randle is thinking. Yeah. A 1-year security option for a guy that's been hurt for a large part of his career is not what he's going to want. And it's not what his agent is going to tell him.
No.
They're going to work on a 2 to 3 year contract extension with the Wolves. And if that doesn't happen, they're going to test the market, in my opinion.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, and especially, it depends what happens in the next 2 series, too, if there are 2 series, right? Does he win a championship and just does that make him want to stay and win another one? Does that make him say, I won my championship, let's go to Brooklyn for 5 years? I'm making it up, but whatever.
Right.
Just the huge number that Darnold did, right? That kind of thing. Yeah, he's made it very interesting again now, because it seemed like it was kind of easier when he wasn't playing so well.
Totally. Yeah.
And now it's like going to be complicated again.
It went from, gosh, I hope he doesn't sign this player option deal that he's stuck for $30 million.
Yep.
So
like $30 million might be a bargain.
Yeah, right. Now it's like, well.
Yep. And they need him. They do.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Well, Jake, thanks for your takes.
It's always a pleasure, Minnesota Tim.
I appreciate it. It's always a good time together.
Great time.
Great time together. Well, everyone, thank you for joining the show. Remember, 5-Star Bass Solutions of Minneapolis, which I forgot to talk about. I guess I'll put a little ad at the beginning of the show.
There you go. Just record it after. Yeah.
I already have one recorded.
Oh, do you need me to say anything about it?
No. I'll be all right.
All right.
Yeah. Are you gonna hire them for your bathroom services?
Say I've heard good things from Tim.
Minnesota Tim.
Hey, but maybe when we finish our basement again, we got to do that at some point. So.
Well, there you go.
I'm not gonna do it myself. That sounds like a heck of a lot of work.
It sure does. Yeah. We're doing some landscaping outside right now. A lot of work.
That I don't mind, though, because that's just manual labor. At least I can comprehend it. Bathroom stuff just seems like if I screw up,
tile, mold, blah,
the whole
blah,
house
blah.
might be ruined.
Yeah, for sure.
The way it feels anyway. I know it's not likely, but
So don't be like Jake. Be like Jake, actually. Be like Jake.
Yeah, correct.
Don't remodel your own bathroom, because a bathroom is a
I'm
large
not an expert. Yeah.
part of your value to your house. 5-Star Bass Solutions of Minneapolis. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining Jake and I today, and have a good day.